Hey, let's talk about fear today. Quickly talk about fear. What is fear? I want to clear this up because there is fear, and then there's this thing that a lot of people refer to as fear nowadays, and it's not really fear actually. It is resistance, and resistance is always going to be repressed expression. Okay, so what is actually real fear? Real fear is the immediate response. It's like a millisecond response that happens when we recognize that there is a real threat to us around us in our environment. It is a millisecond. It is the moment of awareness that you're in danger. And in that awareness, there is hopefully, usually, an immediate reaction, immediate response, physiological response. There is a rising of adrenaline that gets us moving and taking an action ASAP. And that action is whether we are conscious of what we're doing, we know what to do in that situation, or it is something in our body, instinctual, in our cells, in our DNA, we know what to do in that particular situation. It really depends on the person and the situation, mostly the person, it depends. If we do not know how to respond to a situation, if we don't know how to express our alert and to transform that into an action and take an action and protect ourselves, then that becomes trauma. When we don't know how, when we don't know how to respond, when we feel that we are unsafe, we feel there is the experience, the internal experience of, again, that fear, that moment in knowing that you are unsafe and that you need to get away from something, you need to protect yourself, whatever it is. If you don't know how to translate that into action, then that becomes a trauma. Because then we are left unprotected, and that is ultimately the trauma. After we are left unprotected and whatever happens. So that's what trauma is, and that can be a small thing, that can be a little thing. It can be being a veteran on a field and seeing a lot of destruction, and that can take a really long time to process all that information. It could also, or it could be a kid, you give an invite to one of your friends to come to your birthday party, and you don't hear anything from your friends. If you don't have the guidance or the direction or support or just someone to guide you through that experience, that's going to be a trauma. Unless you intuitively and unless you inherently, instinctively know, have an understanding, again, it totally depends on the person. But that can ultimately, if we don't have the tools, if we don't, again, know how to express, to understand, to actualize and receive whatever it is that's happening inside of us, upon receiving something unexpected or something dangerous, that is a trauma once the thing happens. Okay, so when we are in situations where this fear is happening, what a lot of people are referring to as fear is really just resistance, and it's this contraction, it's this moving away from the thing that we feel that immediate response of fear towards it, and that is just it's like it's not even that it's fear, because we are accepting usually, we're accepting that we're aware of the thing that is that there is creating like a separation between you and the thing. You have an awareness of what is either a perceived danger or something that is threatening or intimidating to you. So that's not the argument here. The discussion is about what is happening internally, and what's happening internally is not fear of the thing. It is resistance. It is resistance, which is always going to be repressed expression. It is ultimately a not knowing how to respond to the thing. So if you had something happen, say that you were the person who gave the invite to your friend and they never said anything about it, that was you. Later in life, the same thing happened and you still don't understand that situation, or you don't know how to respond to it. You don't know how to receive that into your reality. You don't know how to comprehend that, and have that be a part of you don't know how to, whatever it is that you need to do in that situation to feel at peace. If you don't know how to navigate that, then you're going to experience that same repression of expression. So it's not about the thing, it's about not knowing how to navigate or respond to that situation. So how do we resolve the resistance? A few different ways. It could be a combination. Usually it could be a combination, or it could be one of these things. It could be knowledge, just understanding. There's a lot of information out there if you want to understand or learn more about people. Or, if you want to know exactly, you can ask directly. And if you notice fears around that, if you notice resistance towards that, let's call it resistance from now on, because that's what it is. It's not fear, it's resistance. If you are experiencing resistance towards that, then that can be investigated as well. Sometimes it's simply just understanding, knowing experientially that the thing that you are perceiving as a threat now is not actually real. And it usually never is. It's not an actual threat. And especially if we experience things in childhood, things like social neglect, emotional neglect, usually in adulthood, there are things that we have learned to nurture for ourselves, and so this resistance that we may have towards other people, we may have towards wanting to connect with other people, it's not a real danger anymore, and it's just a matter, if we've sort of avoided people for a long period of time, it's sort of like gaining all that experience that we avoided in a certain amount of time that we avoided it. So it's learning that, this isn't actually dangerous. And sometimes the body needs that. The body needs to kind of just get caught up. But the nervous system needs to get caught up to where maybe your mind is, maybe where your heart is. These traumas can have the potential to kind of split our experience up. So we might be more ahead intellectually, we might be more ahead emotionally, we might be more ahead physically, and not necessarily that we're ahead in these things because of trauma. It can just be it can equally just be a natural tendency that we have to be more inclined in one area or another. But it can. So it's just some things to be aware of. So knowledge is one thing that helps us to move past this resistance, to understand that we're bigger than the resistance, we're greater than the resistance, we're greater than the thing that we're perceiving as dangerous. The other thing is just plain old-fashioned simple practice, just doing the thing over and over, moving towards it over and over. Or we take the jump and we go right in, we go all in, and we realize, we experience, we sit with all the fear, the discomfort more so. We sit with the discomfort, we sit with all the resistance, all the thoughts, all the emotions that are so against our action of moving towards the thing that we're resisting. And then upon that processing, and after that processing, we realize there was nothing to be afraid of. And that is the training that we give our body. And that can be a very immediate learning experience, experientially, for the nervous system and for everything else. So, another thing is guidance. It really helps to have, if you can afford it, if you are in proximity to people who have moved past that resistance or don't have that resistance and are just in reality. And what I mean by that is there is no resistance because to certain things, maybe because in reality is safe. It's safe. The truth is safe. Life is safe. It is in the repression of expression that feels unsafe. So having ways to express ourselves, being able to express ourselves, being able to feel secure and in control, that helps us to feel safe in life. And when we feel safe in our bodies, when we feel safe in life, and when we feel safe in life, we see that life is mostly safe. So that is the good thing about the resistance, the contraction, the wanting to move away from things, that feeling. That's the good thing about that is realizing, knowing that it's not actually a real danger, and it can be overcome. And anyone can overcome it. You can overcome it. You are bigger than it. You're greater than it, and it's just a matter of time and learning and all that stuff I just mentioned, because it's just that's all it is. And if there's any thoughts that have been attributed to that trauma, if there have been ideas or beliefs or anything that's sort of added on to that, those can all go away. Ideas and thoughts can make things feel more real than they actually are. And they can also all just go away. It's just a matter of deciding to let them go. So that's it. It's a little bit on fear today. Hope that was helpful.